A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. You must have already had your breakfast and may be eager to join this webinar and learn more about the mental skills that I'm going to teach you. Okay. Now, before we start this webinar, uh, I would like to give you some instructions. Kindly keep your audio and video on mute mode. If you have some questions, put your questions in the chat box and I will answer them in the end. As we go along, whenever you feel like reacting to this webinar, like you want to give what is it? Okay. Uh, don't forget to give your reactions like the thumbs up, clap, and hand raise. Okay. Now let's dive into this webinar. This webinar will be on concentration in sports. Why concentration is important, why you don't have to get distracted, why distraction will bring down your performance, and what are the exercises that you need to do to concentrate better, what are the types of concentration exercise you can perform. I'm going to teach you all of these as we proceed in this webinar. Now, the epic Mahabharata has given us lots and lots of moral stories, anecdotes, incidents that would help us in our day-to-day life. And for centuries, it has helped the followers. And one such incident is the one when Dronacharya taught the Pandava brothers the art of archery. One day, to test the skills of uh, the Pandava brothers, as far as concentration was concerned, he made a wooden bird, tied it high up in the tree, and he called the Pandava brothers one by one. So he asked them, what do they see looking high up in the branches? Some of them said they see the sky, they see the leaves, they see the branches. Some of them said they could see the bird. And when it was Arjuna's turn, Arjuna said, I can see the eye of the bird. Ladies and gentlemen, this is concentration for you. Huh? This is the concentration for you. Okay. When everybody could see the bird and the branches and the sky above, Arjuna was this skills of concentration was so great that he could see the eye of the bird. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is concentration for you. Then Dronacharya was in full praise for Arjuna's levels of concentration, and we all know that how good Arjuna was in with his archery. Okay. Now, concentration is one of the 4 C's of peak performance. 4 C's. The first C is the commitment. The second C is the confidence, which we also call as self-confidence, self-belief. Then the next one is the composure, how you need to be cool, calm, positive, and optimistic while you are performing. And the next is the concentration factor, which is very, very important if you have to perform at your peak. Now, We know very well that uh, right from the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we go to sleep, we perform several activities. And in every activity, we need to give our full attention, which is nothing but concentration. Now, in the year 2014, November, the World Snooker Championship the, was held in Bangalore. Now, Pankaj Advani, the Indian snooker star, reached the quarterfinals and he faced Yang Bingtao of China. But in that contest, Pankaj Advani lost to his Chinese opponent. After the match, he said, the atmosphere was not conducive for good snooker, which required complete silence from the spectators to help the players to concentrate better. He also added, he attributed the source of distraction that day to people talking, cell phones ringing, and constant movement of the crowd. Now, Pankaj Advani said that one of the reasons why he could have lost is because of so much of disturbance and distraction coming from the crowd. Now, this coming from a player who has won many world championships, in many ways cannot be acceptable. He considered that as a professional, he should have coped up with the disturbance in a better way. See, this shows how distraction can affect even the best in the world. Now, when you have to learn any skill and practice it, you need to be completely committed to it. You need to be in the present moment. Then you have to give your complete attention to what is being taught. Without concentration, whatever you learn, whether it is your teacher teaching you the lessons or a coach teaching you some sporting skills, so without concentration, that skill will not be ingrained in our system. Now, normally students with poor memory now complain that whatever, and I put in a lot of number of hours of study, but I forget everything. But and many students don't pay complete attention to what is being taught in the classroom. And see now, the reason they don't, the memory is not good is because they are not paying attention to what is being taught, or when they are doing their own study, they are not giving complete attention to the subject. Instead, the mind may be wandering. So we learn that concentration is very, very important for good memory. Now, I am Vishwanath, your mind coach and counselor. I am the author of the book Success Mantra in Sports. This book is on the mental aspects of sports. And this book can be bought online through Amazon and Flipkart. I repeat, the title of the book is Success Mantra in Sports. I myself was a club cricketer in my active playing years, and now I am a recreational golfer. I have helped many state, national, and international sports persons to improve their mind game. On your picture, you can see me handing over my book to the guest of the day, Mr. Mon Brogman. I am talking about the workshop Winning Minds that I conducted in the year 2019. Mr. Mon Brokman is an Israeli athlete and coach. He participated, represented Israel in many world level competitions, and now he is in Bangalore to do some sports training. As I said earlier, even the simplest of tasks requires mental effort, and this mental effort is nothing but concentration. Normally, whenever we are performing anything or performing some chores, doing some mundane day-to-day activities, and executing our sports skills in competition, we tend to make mistakes when we don't concentrate. And I hope all of you athletes will connect to that. And you might have experienced that whenever you didn't concentrate properly, your performance and your execution was not to your liking. Now, even in a day-to-day life, when we are driving or maybe when we are operating some machinery, we need to be very careful. If we are not careful, if we lose our concentration, we might meet in an accident when while we are driving, or we may have injuries from machines which we are operating. So every task requires concentration. Now, you can see from your screen, there is an athlete on the track and he is looking elsewhere in some other direction. Maybe his attention has been diverted. When a person is lost in thoughts, his attention is diverted. He or she cannot pay attention to the task on hand, and this may lead to performance errors. And in some cases, there is a likelihood of injuries. Now, concentration is also called in many other terms called focus and also attention. Now, in different contexts, speakers, writers use these three terms interchangeably. That I repeat, the three terms which are similar are concentration, focus, and attention. Now, though the words concentration and focus are used in a generic manner, they can be used interchangeably. A teacher may say to you, to the students, that you must pay attention to what I am saying. You seem lost. Are you an absent-minded professor? See, that's what the teacher meant. She said when a student is concentration is wavering, getting distracted, and when student teacher asks something and the student gives some other reply, the teacher obviously knows that the student has got distracted. That's what she meant by saying you must pay attention to what I am saying. You seem lost. You are an absent-minded professor. That's a general comment sometimes we make. Okay. Now, on your next screen, you see the legends of Indian cricket, Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid. Now, that page is an excerpt of a page from my book, page 93. And what I have written is Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar were so focused with their cricketing skills that they did not allow anything to come in the way of their progress. They didn't allow any distraction to come in the way. In the field of sports, we normally say you must not lose focus on what you want to achieve. What you want to achieve, what your big dreams are. Sachin and Dravid were so focused in their careers that they did not allow any outside distraction to come in the way. A successful cricketer or an athlete can easily lose focus and can get distracted with fame, adulation, public attention, the kind of money they earn. There's always a temptation to follow some wrong lifestyles. There can be many reasons. And once that happen, they cannot be focused on their goals, on their dreams, and sometimes even their faulty lifestyles, character also comes in the way. So, as athletes, you must not fall prey to these distractions. You need to pay attention to what is important in your career and what you need to focus on, keeping out the unwanted things. Okay, going on to the next slide. Now, I have already told you attention and focus are the other means of expression for concentration. Now, what is attention? Now, you see an athlete on the track and he's trying to focus attention maybe on his thoughts and how he has to perform and what he needs to do. The process of concentrating the mind upon a particular activity with a view of achieving a specific objective is called attention. So, what that does mean? You need to pay attention to whatever you are doing, any activity you are performing. And when you pay full attention, then it becomes concentration. Concentration is also called as paying attention to what is important and blocking out what is not. Now, researchers, psychologists have come up with different definitions. The one I liked most was from Mr. Moran, which he defined concentration in the year 2004. According to Mr. Moran, concentration refers to a person's ability to exert deliberate mental effort on what is important in any given situation. So now you can see from the screen, the coach is trying to tell an athlete, he's a basketball player out there, something. The attention of the athlete is going somewhere else. So this normally happens in the field of sports. The whatever the coach is telling the athletes, any instructions he's giving, or any technical skills he's demonstrating, the athlete may not pay good attention. It's very important for him to pay attention to understand what is being told and what he needs to implement and the minute details with regard to skills and the execution. So attention is very, very important. But you don't normally pay good attention whenever you are not interested in something. Attention is a conscious selective activity. So you need to, it comes from your conscious sense that I have to pay attention to this particular activity. I need to pay attention to what my coach is telling me. So if he's not interested in what the coach is telling me, if he's not appealed by the way a coach or a teacher explains to him, his attention may wander. And if he is not interested in the subject which is on which something is being told, then he may not pay his attention. Yes. Now, when a person is inattentive, this can be due to something going on in his mind, which a teacher or a coach must know. He needs to know you look very distracted. Your mind is elsewhere. What is it? What is going through your mind? Let me know. Let me clarify it to you. Let me help you deal with those distractions. Or if you are getting carried away by your own feelings, please come out with your feelings so that I can help you to deal with them. Our attention seems to wander when we don't like the thing we are doing. That's what I said a few minutes earlier. We need to we need to prioritize on what we want in life, and what we want, we need to give a full commitment to it. in order to pay good attention to what we are doing. So we need to enjoy the activity and we need to like what we are doing. If that doesn't happen, your attention may wander. You may get distracted. Now, in the next slide, you see that you, again, repeating what I said, you need to show your interest in what you're doing. The interest, the voluntary interest in what you are doing. So, but the activity or whatever we are about to do or what we are doing should also interest you. Certain times, certain subjects or in your academic studies or certain activities which we sometimes we are forced to do, and we may not pay attention to those activities. Now, that interest you show is subjective in the sense the interest should come from inside, from it's subjective. The attention is objective. When you show interest from within, the attention becomes an object where you will put in the required amount of concentration. Now, interest and attention go together. Now, if there is no interest, there is no attention. They are like inseparable twins. Sometimes in life, we have to go through certain ordeals or certain activities or follow certain compulsions. Sometimes we may not like it, but we need to pay attention because it is important as far as our career, our survival, and what is important in life is concerned. For example, when it comes to studies, there may be several subjects when we are forced to study, but not every subject is to your liking. Just because some subject is not interesting for you, you enjoy one subject more than the other, you can't say I will not put attention, my concentration to that particular subject in which I am not interested. See, that will affect your marks and your overall academic result. So here you have to prioritize, you have to decide mentally that it may not be my favorite subject, but it's important that I have to pay my attention to even that subject also, because my overall academic performance is also dependent on this subject. So sometimes you will have to I will not say force yourself, but when you realize the importance of that subject, even though you are not interested in it, you will somehow see that you will adapt and you will pay the necessary concentration and attention to be able to do it successfully. Now, on your screen, you are seeing the young Vishwanathan Anand, the chess player, the chess champion, one of the grandmasters of the world. I'm sure all of you would have heard about him. Now, he is a chess player, and you know how important concentration and attention is for the game of chess. I'm sure he too struggled with his distraction as a young man, but as he trained his mind to concentrate, I think there was no looking back, and many a times he was judged the world champion, and he is the grandmaster. Vishwanathan Anand for you. Now, I normally ask people, what is the opposite of concentration? Naturally, it is a distraction. That means you are not being able to put your attention into something. Now, distraction may be defined as any stimulus whose presence interferes with any process of attention. Now, distraction can be visual, it can be your internal thoughts, and those are all stimulus, those are all sensory stimuli. When these interfere in the process of attention, then you are getting distracted. your mind is wandering. Your your sight is wandering. At one point of time, you're looking to different things, looking at things that are not necessary at that particular point of time, which are not important at that particular point of time, then you are getting visually distracted. Now, on your screen, you are seeing a picture of English Premier League, and that football player you're seeing on the screen is Raheem Sterling. Obviously, as you see, he's a colored player, and even though we say the world has come together to put an end to racism and color difference, and uh, even now racism exists to a certain extent. On the picture screen, there are four spectators abusing Raheem Sterling, who plays for Manchester City. He is being racially abused racially for his race and his color. And from what I remember, those two spectators were removed from the stadium and banned from further entry as spectators. You can remember, I think, almost more than 10 years ago when India toured Australia, you may remember the Monkey Gate scandal that involved Harbhajan and Singh and yes, I'm not able to recall that name. And in that thing, many spectators abused the Indian cricketers, and Harbhajan Singh, our former off spinner, was at the receiving end. In the recently concluded series between India and Australia, Mohammad Siraj and Navdeep Saini were racially abused by the crowd in Australia. Now, sledging and continuous chatter to distract the players also hampers concentration. Now we see now, especially in Australia, a lot of sledging happens. What is a sledging? It happens in cricket when the close-in fielders continuously keep talking. Sometimes they may abuse, sometimes they may offend, speak in a criticism kind of manner, and they may abuse, they may continuously chat. All this is to distract the batsman at the crease. So this is quite common, and batsmen, when they have to perform at the international level, have to learn to deal with these things. And of course, the batsmen have learned to deal with these things, and you can see from the way they've already performing. Now, one way, and you can't stop this chatter, you can't stop this sledging. It happens. Even our very own Rishabh Pant of late has been accused of talking too much behind the stumps. He is a wicketkeeper for India, and he continuously talks behind the stumps. Yes, maybe to motivate the bowlers and the fielders, maybe to pass some comments, maybe to give some instruction to the bowler, but still, his chatter is continuous behind the stumps. Yes, and one way to deal with this distracted tactics by the opponents is to talk to yourself using self-talk and cue words. And I'm going to talk more about that in my upcoming webinars. And I remind you, you can deal with this with your own inner self-talk using the cue words. Like self-talk can be pay attention to the task on hand, focus on the process. Now, whoever is sledging you, bless them well. Do you think that they are saying something positive about you? They are appreciating you for your talent and your ability. Then how you need to use your cue words. Cue word is a single word or a single line that you use to change your thought process. Cue word can be focus, process, positive, Next ball. Calm, cool, composed. That one word will tell you to follow a certain behavior which is important at that present moment. So keywords are important, which I am going to deal with in my upcoming webinars. Moving on to the next slide. On your screen, you see India's lone individual gold medal winner, Olympic gold medal winner, that is Abhinav Bindra, and he is showing, giving his full concentration there in the shooting range. Now, concentration can also be described as the person's ability to exert mental effort to what is important and blocking out what is not. I told you what are distractions already. I'll come to more of that in a short while. Now, there are four keys to concentration. Four important areas that you need to focus on to be able to concentrate well. The first one is focusing on relevant cues in the environment. That means the cues that will tell you what is important at that time, what will help your execution, which is called as selective attention. Relevant cues is when it's a group game which involves more than one player, you can see the body language of the opponent, where he is stationed, where he is positioned, and what he is trying to do. That means you are paying your selective attention to what a particular opponent is doing. Then coming to the next point, maintaining attentive focus. That means giving your full focus to your opponent and what he's about to do. It can be basketball, throwing the ball into the basket, or he's trying to pass the ball, or a tennis player who is ready to serve the ball. That means you're paying full attention to his action. You are trying to focus, bring a complete focus to the ball, how it is traveling, which direction it is traveling, and how you need to respond to that. And the third key to concentration is maintaining situational awareness. Situational awareness is nothing but there's a mass situation where there is a performance at that particular situation, then the game score, and what are your chances of coming back into the game? What are the chances of winning that game? So you need to have a situational awareness. So you need to have that awareness in the corner of your mind so that you'll be able to react and perform according to that match situation. Now, the fourth and the last key to concentration is shifting attention and focus. Now, I will come to that a little later. Sometimes, let us say, you are a football player, you are dribbling the ball, you see from left to right where your opponent defenders are, where the opponent, other players of the opposition team are, then you decide that you want to kick the ball in a particular direction. From that broad attention, you're narrowing your attention to where you want to kick the ball, and then you do the kick, you kick the ball. Then even in basketball, the same thing happens, even in cricket. Now the batsman will survey the entire field, see where the fielders are stationed. Then he narrows his attention and bring this attentional focus to the bowler. Yes. Now, the researchers have identified 8 physical and mental capabilities for peak performance, and at least 3 of them are to do with concentration. 3 out of the 8, which are very, very important for peak performance, have to do with your concentration. Yes, coming to the next slide. So, yes, now what is required for good performance is your high level of concentration, then your extraordinary awareness, being aware of where the players from the opposite side are stationed, what they are trying to do, then your ability to focus on something while executing, and then again your mind may wander, and you bring back your focus to that execution, which means you'll be able to focus and refocus on what you are doing. Yes. Now, focus. I told you there are three interchangeable words for concentration. People use them interchangeably, and one of that is concentration itself. The second one is your attention. Third one is the focus. Okay. Now, focal point. We study in physics and science. The point of focus is where the rays meet. Yes, and all of you know Alexander Graham Bell, okay, the famous scientist. Now he has said, concentrate all your thoughts to the work on hand. The sun rays do not burn until it is brought to a focus. So see now, you can see that prism out there, the multi colors and the rays are coming, striking in the prism, and it is coming out as one ray. So all your attention should be focused. You should make it one pointed. It should be like one single ray that you will have to can strike against what you are doing and what it needs to be done. Now, this line is very important. And the sun rays do not burn until it is brought to a focus. I don't know how many of you have tried this out, and but I can speak for myself. When I was a young boy, and most of you can go back to your childhood and remember that you used to collect some bunch of dry leaves, put it in the corner of a wall or a room, then not in a room, I'm sorry, because you require sunlight. You put it somewhere in one place, then you take a lens, then you start focusing, start directing the sun rays through the lens. Initially, the focal point will be very big. As you adjust the lens, you make it smaller and smaller and smaller. When it becomes very small, like a pinpoint, the heat is generated onto the leaves and the leaves start burning. So that is what Alexander Graham Bell meant. The sun rays do not burn until it's brought to a focal point. So I remember very much. Those were one of the experiments we used to do it for fun when we were young boys, and I can still remember that. Yes. Now you can see Graham Bell. I think you can see him with his discovery out there. A picture where he's exhibiting his scientific discovery, and all the admirers are there surrounding him, appreciating him for his research and scientific temper. Now, coming on to the next slide. Now, there are different types of attention and concentration we give. One is the broad concentration, broad attention, what we say, where we follow a broad attention skills. For a football player or a hockey player or even a basketball player, he can see the entire court. As I told you earlier, he keeps first finds out where the opposition players are stationed. He looks from left to right. He can look from one side of the ground to the other side of the ground to survey where the players are stationed. Now, that is a broad attention. Now, coming to the next one. This is a narrow attention. Now, narrow attention is a football striker sees left and right. From broad attention, he narrows his attention. Then he focuses on the goal post. He narrows his attention into the goal post and does the kick. And now you can see the legendary Tiger Woods on your screen. And now he's using his narrow attention to the line in which he wants the ball to go and fall into the cup. We call it as putting. So that's what he's trying to do. His attention is narrowed to the cup and the putt. Now a basketballer's attention in the second picture is completely focused on the line in which he wants to throw the ball. He's focused on his basket. So that is, he's narrowed his attention towards the basket. A shooter here, he's giving his narrow attention to the target. He's completely focused on his target. This is narrow attention for you. Now, sometimes you have to vary from broad to narrow and narrow to broad. You keep changing according to the situation. Now, yes. Okay. Now, sometimes you also pay your attention to what is happening inside your mind. Your internal, your thoughts, maybe it is positive or negative, and the images that are going through your mind, what you are imagining, whether once again it can be positive or negative. Sometimes your attention, your mind diverts to the what is happening within your head. That means it is focusing on what is happening within your brain. So this is an internal focus. Okay. Now, yes, it is important to let go of the errors and the past mistakes that happened while you are rallying. Okay. Then obviously you are angry that you lost the previous point. You made a silly mistake. You committed an error. You are angry. You are frustrated with yourself. You're still thinking about that lost point, the mistake you made. And now the game continues. And if you're still thinking about what happened in the past, you will not be able to give your full focus to what is about to happen next. The next ball or the next shuttle, whatever is going to happen next. Then definitely when you are not able to pay attention, even you can't give your full, you can't perform the way you have to perform in the next ball also. So naturally your performance suffers. Now, I told you about the internal attention. As I told you, externally due to movements, noise, then happenings outside of the arena can also distract you. Okay, so this can be unforced. It's something you can't control, something that can happen to distract you. Now, this is very, very important for sports persons. Now I'm talking to you, telling you about the factors that can disturb concentration. As I told you earlier, one is your internal factors, with your thoughts, your inadequate motivation, your insufficient confidence, your fear. All these can bother your concentration. Instead of mind has this behavior, it has this quality. It can focus on only one thing at a time. Now, if you are focused on your internal thoughts, your nervous thoughts, your self-doubts, your fear of failure, or anger with yourself about losing the previous point, the previous set, or the delivery which you missed, which should have hit for a boundary, anything that happens, when you are thinking about those internal thoughts, you cannot focus on the next ball. So even when you are not confident, you are getting those negative thoughts of self-doubt. Again, you cannot focus on what you need to do. So if your motivation is not enough, you're not able to motivate yourself. The drive is not there to go out there, run after the ball, fight hard. Then this inadequate motivation also disturbs your concentration. Now, the external one. As I told you, the what can disturb your eye, the senses that your eye receives and your ears especially, and it can also happen due to the feeling. Okay, first one can be your visual sense. You can see a lot of movement in the crowd, and your opponent can be trying to irritate you. He can be doing certain actions that are irritating to you. He's intentionally untying his lace, then tying it back, and he's pacing up and down, and this is irritating you. And some crowd behavior also can irritate you. They're making unnecessary movements. Now you can see in the game of cricket, when a batsman is just about to ready to face the ball, somebody walks across the side screen. This is distracting. So there's a brief hold up in play when that person is cleared off from the side screen and the play resumes. Now, then the auditory distractions. This is also external. There may be children crying, children shouting, or people shouting, trying in the guise of giving encouragement. Then there must be a fight, verbal fight happening in the crowd. People may be speaking over their cell phones. Then people may be talking to each other loudly. These are all the auditory distractions. Then I told you the physiological how you can feel too cold. Your body feels too cold, maybe in that sub-zero Arctic temperatures when you go and perform. Then this cold also affects your concentration because the cold is unbearable. Even in very, very hot conditions where your skin tend to burn, you'll not be able to bear this heat. So again, it affects your concentration. Then the physiological symptoms. Now, you're too tired, it affects your concentration. Then you have an injury, you're feeling the pain. Now, your mind is focused on your injury and the pain, so you're not able to concentrate. So this is a physiological factor that can disturb your concentration. Now, players cannot concentrate when their attention is on unimportant activities happening around them. Now, I always remember the games, the IPL games where the tight 20 over game and so much of players, so many spectators who have turned out to the ground in colorful clothing, then they wear fancy dresses, then they bring their band set, all the trumpet, the drums, and all the jingles they bring, and a lot of dancing and all is happening in the crowd. And for a fielder standing at the boundary line, he always has the temptation to look behind. When that happens, he will not be able to focus on what is happening in the ground. I remember in one IPL match in Bangalore, when RCB was facing some other team, on the boundary line was AB de Villiers. He's a crowd favorite. He's a favorite with the RCB fans. Then he turned back to see the activity, the fun the crowd was having. The crowd was dancing with joy. Then Virat Kohli, the captain, was waving to him to move to the right on the field, and he missed his direction. And after, again, Virat shouted at him and indicated to him to move to the right. Then he waved back and then he moved. Then that time, I was telling myself, how difficult it is for the players to focus amidst all the din and the crowd and the noise that is happening on the ground. But yes, they are professional cricketers, then they have to live up to that. Now, you are seeing on the screen an incident that put a black mark on the former Australian captain Steve Smith. He's one of the premier batsmen in the world, the top 3 batsmen. Now, there was an incident when he and David Warner were accused of using sandpaper to brush the ball, maybe to brush the ball, make it rough on one side to help the bowlers get a reverse swing. Now, see, these are sometimes concentration can be disturbed. Concentration should be totally on the ethics of the game, the sportsman spirit, the rules of the game. When your concentration goes elsewhere, always focusing on victory and overpowering the opponent, then your mind wanders and you can do something unethical, like the sandpaper incident. Okay. Now, when players are under pressure, they are too tensed in the mind. They are anxious. They are nervous, too much under pressure, thinking too much, and the mind goes blank and they are not able to concentrate. They are not able to take the right decision at that time. Now, when they think too much, either they are in the past or in the future, when they are not in the present, then their concentration wavers. They are not able to give the complete attention. When they are bored and disinterested in what is happening on the ground, then their concentration can waver. When opponents are distracting them with sledging, mind games, then also the player's concentration wavers. Okay, now I will come to the practical ideas on what you can do to improve your concentration. Whether you are out there, yes, let me first repeat. Um, Let me first bring to you what are those practical ideas that you can employ, which I can teach you in the future one-to-one lessons that if you are willing to take with me, yes. And those practical ideas are: number one, centering and thought stopping; number two, focusing and refocusing; number three, simulative competitive conditions; number four, dress rehearsal; five, eye control; six, routines; seven, through visualization; eight, through self-talk; nine, using cues; 10, through relaxation; 11, using neurofeedback and biofeedback technology; and the 12 is the pre-shot routine. Now, if I have to explain all the 12 methods or strategies or practical ideas, it will take too much time. Maybe I'll run through them quickly. Centering and thought stopping is, if a mind is getting flooded with too many negative thoughts, fearful thoughts, anxious thoughts, then you can say, ask the mind to stop. Tell your mind to stop giving you those negative thoughts. Shift your attention to something else, something positive, something happy, something happening on the court or in the field. Then your thought stops and your attention diverts to something else. Then you're able to bring back your attention to what is happening on the field. Then centering. Centering is, you need to stand on the ground. You can spread your legs. Then maybe you can close your eyes and take a deep breath and exhale slowly. Take 3 deep breaths, exhale slowly, bring your attention to your breathing, then for a moment or two, follow your natural breathing. Breathe naturally, don't control your breathing. Focus your attention to your breathing. One way, and the most powerful way to bring your mind into concentration, to make your wandering mind to pay attention to what you want to do, what is important at that given time, is through focusing on your breath. It's called as mindfulness breathing. Focus your mind onto your breath. Immediately your attention comes back to your breath, and then you can refocus your attention to what you need to do next. Okay, focusing and refocusing. Now, Rahul Dravid has said this, Sachin Tendulkar has said this. When you're playing a test match or batting for long hours, you can't pay attention continuously to what is happening on the field. Your mind will drain of its energy. Your energy will be drained if you're trying to pay complete attention. So what people do is that for a batsman, after the ball is bowled, he can divert his attention to the pitch, the stumps, maybe to what is happening around. Then intentionally they can make their mind wander. They can look at the green of the wicket, then look at the green on the turf. Then as the bowler starts approaching him, the batsman can now bring his attention to the bowler. That means what you need to do is you switch on and you switch off. So switch on your concentration when it is important. You can switch off for a while, again switch on when the activity starts. So this is also called as focusing and refocusing. You are trying to focus, but you're still getting negative thoughts. You are anxious, nervous, afraid, or irritated, angry. And now you can, with cue words, can tell your mind to focus on the process and again refocus on what is happening. Now, simulating competitive conditions. Many teams, what they do is to create the same atmosphere in which the players are going to participate in the future. I'll give a wonderful example for this. Now, in 2008 Beijing Olympics, I think the Korean archery team did this exercise. They visited the Chinese Olympic village and they took a good look at the archery stadium, the archery arena. Then they came back and artificially created the same competitive conditions. That means they created with flex banners, huge flex banners in the side, with a lot of Chinese spectators sitting there. They created that, artificially created that Olympic archery competition conditions, and they also put those mics, and they created the Chinese people speaking the Chinese language. And when their players were participating, when their players were shooting, they were shooting in this artificially created condition where their imagination was that they are already shooting, doing their archery in the Beijing Olympics in China. So when they actually went there and performed during the Olympics, they performed exceedingly well. They won a number of medals. So this is what is called as simulative competitive conditions. That means when you see yourself participating in conditions that you already know, then you will be able to pay full attention to what you're doing. Dress rehearsal. Sometimes when a team is there practicing in that coaching camp, and in a few days they have to leave for some other country or some other state to perform in a big competition. Now they are all supplied with similar dresses, the attire. Now what the coaches do is they make the players wear the attire which they are going to wear in the upcoming competition. Now when the players see each other in that attire, they get a feel of the competition situation. That means they already imagine themselves playing the attire in the competition. So they get somewhat used to that competitive conditions, and it is highly simulative. Now through eye control, yes. Now as I told you, eyes are wandering here and there. You focus it on something like the strings of a racket, or you can bring your focus to the stumps. You can bring your focus to the greenery around you. You can bring your focus to some tree or some flower or whatever. This is how you eye control normally. You bring your eye control to what is important, and your thoughts will stop. Now, routines. Now, routines are that a series of actions that a sports person does before he actually executes. Now, if I remember Rafa Nadal, he wipes his forehead from left to right, then he does brushes his eyes, adjusts his cap, and then he stands there and moves right and left, then before facing the ball. The sports persons are always in a habit of doing a certain actions. I remember Virat Kohli doing this with his hand, and these are the actions that they have become familiar with. And by doing these actions, that means it becomes a routine. It becomes a routine. By performing these actions, they can able to focus better. And they also certain times they prepare and they practice certain kind of routines that helps them bring back their concentration. There is the thing called pre-shot routine. which anybody from archery to shooting, a shooter or a golfer can practice. Now, before the shot, maybe they can take a deep breath, they can make a rehearsal shot, then after that, they can see the target, then again they can come into the stance, takes a practice shot, and when they are satisfied, they can play the final shot. Now, doing this practice shot with everything in place is called as pre-shot routine. Now, whenever outside the court, when you are doing your visualization and imagery, you can see yourself giving full attention to the activity, full attention to what is going on. So your concentration can also be improved through visualization and imagery. Okay, then your mind is wandering. You're thinking of losing the game. You're thinking about the previous mistake. You're thinking about your poor form. You're thinking about several things. You're negative. You're anxious. You're nervous. Then through self-talk, you talk to yourself. Say that there's no use thinking about it. What has happened has already happened. Bring your attention to the next ball and give your best. Okay, give your best. And if you're given your best, there are very good chances that you are going to win this game. So through your self-talk, you can help your mind to focus on what is important. Now, I already spoken to you about cues, how you use those one words like calm, composed, focus, concentrate, deep breathe. Now, today morning I was reading in the paper how Osaka Naomi, who won the Australian Open yesterday, has come out and said that no, I think the reporter has observed, and she has also mentioned that between points, whenever she finds a small break, she doesn't miss out on taking deep breaths. See, deep breaths. So this is also one way that taking deep breaths helps her come back to the present, and through relaxation. When the mind is tired, when the mind is wandering, you cannot concentrate. Take deep breaths that will help you relax your mind. Focus on your breathing that will help you to bring back your concentration. There is something called biofeedback, neurofeedback, which trains an athlete how to concentrate. I own the biofeedback. I train my own athletes how to concentrate using the biofeedback technology. So we have come to the end of these practical exercises that you can do to improve your concentration. Now, the Eastern methods of concentration. Yeah, the Eastern part of the world have used the different methods of concentration for centuries, for thousands of years. And one of them is focusing on the objects. I will tell you what to do. What you can do is, if you're having problems with your concentration, now collect number of objects like a key bunch, your mobile, some other pen drive, a matchbox, so many objects on the table, and in the middle you keep one object that you should need to focus on. Now try focusing on that object that is important. There are so many other objects surrounding that object which are not important to you, which are irrelevant to you. So keep focusing on what is important, and while you are focusing, your mind will try to divert. Now bring your attention back to that object on which you need to put focus. So this way you can train your mind to focus on what is relevant and do away with what is irrelevant. Okay, now you can see on your screen the Trataka exercise. Trataka is focusing on something. The Bindu Trataka and the Jyoti Trataka. Bindu Trataka is, you can take a square board 12 centimeters by 12 centimeters. In the middle you can make you can use a coin, make a circle and paint it black. Now keep your focusing on the dot, on that mid spot, the black spot, without winking the eye. Now keep focusing. Now as you keep focusing, try to increase the focus. Now while you're focusing, you will get thoughts. Now you bring your mind, the thoughts are trying to divert your mind away from what you need to do. That's to focus on the dot. Now bring your attention to the dot once more. So thoughts will stop. Again, another thought will come from a different direction, tries to hijack your attention. Now bring your attention back to the dot. So you keep practicing this and your levels of concentration will increase. Now, the Jyoti Trataka is also that. Put a candle in front of you, switch off the lights, focus on the flame, the flickering flame. And after some time, close your eyes, imagine the image of the flame. So this exercise is called Jyoti Trataka, which will also help your concentration levels. Okay, now some of the yogic asanas are very, very helpful for concentration. One of them is the Vrikshasana, where if you lose your concentration, then you will lose your balance. Vrikshasana also helps you strengthen your legs. Concentration is very, very important. Natarajasana or the dancer's pose. Here also, if you lose your concentration, you may tend to fall. So concentration is very important. The more you do Natarajasana, it helps your mind, it helps your body and improves your concentration. Another one is your Mayurasana or the scale posture, which also helps your concentration levels. Okay. Then Garudasana is another. Garuda is an eagle, the eagle posture. It also helps your concentration. The Kakasana or the crow posture helps your concentration levels. Now, the self-observation. I told you earlier how you have to center your attention to the thoughts. It's on concentrated breathing. Concentrated breathing is also called as meditation. Meditation is sitting quietly in a place, closing your eyes, focusing on your breathing. As you continue to focus on your breathing, if you get thoughts, bring your mind back to the breath. Then the thoughts will stop. If you're getting too many thoughts, if you're getting flooded with negative thoughts, ask your mind, what am I thinking? Then the thoughts will stop. So, yes, this is called as meditation. Though meditation is not concentration, meditation helps concentration. Meditation is not concentrating on the breath. It is just observing the breath. Meditation is observing the breath. As you improve your meditation, your concentration automatically improves. Concentration is a byproduct of meditation, though meditation is not concentration. Great. Okay, we move on to the next slide. So I just covered the Eastern methods of concentration, that is deep breathing, Trataka, and yogic asanas. Okay, now Michael Johnson, a famous athlete, world famous athlete, he's also won Olympic medals. He has said, I have learned to cut all unnecessary thoughts on the track. I simply concentrate. I concentrate on the tangible. Tangible is what I can achieve, what is seen, not the unseen. I concentrate on the track. I concentrate on the race, on the blocks, on the things I have to do. Now, all the crowd, all the noise, the crowd fades away and other athletes disappear. And now it's only me and the lane. Sometimes during Olympics or World Championships or big athletic events, the crowd is shouting and so much of noise around. The athletes brings his mind to a narrow focus on the track and on his lane. He's not worried about who is standing next to him and next to him, whether he's a world champion, whether he's a Olympic medal holder. He only thinks about his race and his track. This is the way you can focus on what you need to do and what is important for you. Okay? Yes. Now, yeah. Now, if you want to be a champion, you need to think like one. You need to think like a champion. And one of the ways is training your mind to improve your levels of concentration. It is not just enough to go out there every day and practice physically. You need to come back, work on your concentration, work on your visualization, work on breathing techniques, work on several other mind training methods that will help you to become a champion. If you want to become extraordinary, you have to do those extraordinary things which champions do. Otherwise, you will end up ordinary. So please put that extra into your ordinary to become